Alright guys, hope everyone's well and welcome back to the next installment of the education section, where I'll be touching on why you struggle to adhere to your diet. So basically, the aim of this episode is to give you the guidance you need to basically stick to your diet, to give you all the information you need so that you can basically assess why aren't you sticking to your diet and overcome that, to basically ensure adherence is as best as it possibly can be. And the reason being is compliance is a science when it comes to your diet. What will influence the success of your diet isn't if it's carnivore, vegetarian, or any other type of your diet. It's a diet you can stick to. Specifically, one that allows you to stick to your calorie needs, because it doesn't matter what food you eat. If you're over your calories, you're not going to lose weight. Same applies if you're trying to bulk. It doesn't matter if you eat the perfect food when you're bulking. If you aren't eating enough of it to gain weight, you need to make sure your calories are in a good spot, as well as that ideally your protein, because it plays such a massive role in your ability to build muscle, retain muscle, improve your body composition. So as a result, this episode will basically go through every reason why you may not be able to stick to your diet and how to overcome it and make sure it's in a good spot. As a result, making it as easy as possible, hopefully, for you to stick to your diet. Some factors that will influence how consistent you are sticking to your diet is your enjoyment and appropriate satiety, meaning appropriate hunger levels and not being too hungry. Obviously, that's not going to help if you're dieting, or not being too full if you are bulking. Making it convenient and time efficient, both applying when you are bulking or dieting. Making it cost efficient, because most of us don't have a limited amount, or most of us have a limited amount of money that we would like to spend on our nutrition, and we're not quite as rich as some millionaires or that, who can just hire a chef, etc. And also environment. So that is something not a lot of people talk about, which I think makes a massive impact on your ability to progress. And also sleep. More time asleep means less time to eat and be hungry. Which means better consistency if we are dieting, and better ability to stick to our calories. And it also impacts how full we are, our levels of satiety. And also accountability as well as just sticking to it. If dieting was easy, everyone would do it and have success with it and wouldn't struggle. So in terms of the first thing that I'm going to touch on, enjoyment. To stick to your diet, you want to make the foods you're eating as enjoyable as possible. To some extent, if you're dieting, some foods will always be a bit more enjoyable. And what I mean is, the foods taste nice for a reason. Foods that are full of sugar, fat, and are calorie dense are foods we crave for a reason, because our body naturally wants to eat those foods. Because in times when food was scarce, if there was really calorie dense food available, we don't know when the next time we will be able to eat food is. Like in days when, let's say, people used to hunt, etc. I know it seems a bit off tangent, but what I'm basically trying to say is your body naturally wants calorie dense food as a result of that, as a survival mechanism. But obviously that is kind of counterproductive today, because it's the opposite we need for the most part. Most people struggle with maintaining a good weight and are overweight because they eat too much food full of sugar, fat, and that are calorie dense. However, there's a lot we can do to enjoy your diet more, apart from having foods that are full of sugar, fat, and calorie dense in general. Things like picking food choices you enjoy. There's many out there, so just because you're dieting doesn't mean you need to choose ones that aren't enjoyable. Same if you're bulking, there are healthy foods out there that are also enjoyable. Just because something's healthy doesn't mean it doesn't taste nice, so you can make sure you play about and are creative with your food to make sure there's ones that you enjoy in your diet. Also, you can use sauces and seasonings to make it taste nicer. So there's plenty low calorie options if you are dieting, or just sauces that are generally not too unhealthy if you're bulking that you can use. Hot sauce especially is quite low in calories, and there's also less salt and sugar ketchup, or 50% less salt and sugar ketchup, and also low calorie mayonnaise. And you've also got things like brown sauce that you can have in your breakfast, which is surprisingly low in calories if you get the chip shop version. And obviously there's other things you can play about with and low calorie options to make your foods taste nicer. And obviously, like when you're cooking your foods, using seasonings to also make it taste nice. Bear in mind they do have calories in it, so using unlimited supply of sauces and seasonings can add up, so just make sure you're taking it into account and you're keeping it consistent, most importantly. And also getting creative with meals and taking the time to make them taste nice, so not just like slapping dry chicken on a plate with some rice, adding in vegetables that taste nice, like I said, seasoning your food, adding in some nice sauces, and playing about with like how you cook them to make them taste nice. And also having variety in your diet. You can have, let's say, a different plan for training days and rest days. And what I mean by that is you don't have to eat the exact same meal plan or diet on the days you train and the days you don't train. For example, I myself, my meals are slightly different on those days. I've got a set meal plan for each day. Meaning the days I train I've got a set meal plan, and the days I rest I've got another. And on my rest days I'll have some like different foods like salmon, for example, to get some omega-3 fatty acids in. So yeah, having variety in your diet, picking food choices you enjoy, using sauces and seasonings, and getting creative with your meals are things you can do to make it a bit more enjoyable. And next up is making sure you've got appropriate levels of satiety. So this basically means appropriate hunger levels. And you can tailor your hunger levels based on the current phase you're in and your current calorie or macro goal. And what I mean by that is you're not wanting to use the same tactics if you're bulking and struggling with your appetite as if you're dieting and your hunger's super high. You obviously want to change your habits to help your level of satiety be appropriate for the phase you're in. So if you are dieting and you're hungry, you can focus on eating more high volume foods and low calorie foods. So foods that are high in size and low in calories pretty much. And consume low calorie alternatives like I said, like less salt and sugar ketchup, like zero sugar drinks, like things, name anything with like a lower calorie option you could potentially consider. And going for things that are lowering fat, like a lower fat steak, a lower fat like mince, same with like having chicken breasts instead of thighs. Just like alternatives like that can go a long way. And also using zero sugar drinks and coffee to help with cravings and hunger. Caffeine is shown to be an appetite suppressant, which is in zero sugar, like zero sugar drinks, some of them anyway. Things like Coke and I can't think, like Dr. Pepper, whatever, any other like drinks like that sort will most likely have caffeine in them. So, and also like I said, things with coffee. Obviously, if you don't have black coffee, that will add to your calories, so that's something to be mindful of. But yeah, they will help with cravings and hunger because caffeine's an appetite suppressant, and generally just consuming more liquids and things with flavour can help with it. So yeah, that's something you can utilise, but just be mindful caffeine will impact sleep quality, and sleep's something that we should never look to sacrifice ideally. So try and keep it away from bed if you can, and if you are, let's say, having like zero sugar drinks close to bed, just make sure they're ones without caffeine, maybe like 7-Up, or having decaf coffee can be a good option. And also, if you're hungry, you can eat less throughout points when hunger is low. For example, if you train later in the day, for your first meal, you don't have to have a massive meal, just because breakfast isn't really the most important point of the day or part of the day. Arguably, it is quite important to get a source of protein in, as you've not consumed any for hours due to being asleep, but we don't need to eat a massive meal for breakfast. So have less calories throughout breakfast, have more calories at the end of the day when hunger's higher, if that's the case. And also consume foods higher in fibre, as fibre is more satiating than other calories. You can also like volumize your meals. So if you are, let's say, eating oats or cream of rice, if you might have seen me eat that, or any other foods that you can basically, like you can even do so with rice and pasta. You can influence the size of like that food by basically adding more water when you're making it. For example, oats, you can keep adding water, putting it back in the microwave, stirring it, etc. So it's got more size to it, it's more volume to it. And in terms of like say a actionable meal structure, if you're currently dieting, you can make sure you're having a source of protein with each meal that isn't a liquid form, because liquids don't fill us up as much, so we should avoid getting our calories from it. And we can have, let's say, 150 grams to 200 grams of fruit or veg with each meal. If you're currently bulking, you can eat more low volume, high calorie foods. So foods that are the opposite of what we'd want to do when we're dieting. That doesn't mean eating junk or unhealthy foods, but just trying to opt for foods that aren't super low in calories instead. And aim to push your carbohydrate sources up with foods that sit very well. So things like rice, things like pasta can sit well. Some people, bread, cereal, bagels, just have carb sources that sit well and eat a lot of them. And things like honey as well you can add to your meals. And also utilising liquid calories like fruit juices. Like I said, liquid doesn't really fill us up as much than eating calories from solid food, so having liquid calories from calorie dense like fruit juices can help. And also distributing calories more evenly to ensure success. And what I mean by that is, instead of, let's say, eating all your calories at night, that's probably going to be an absolute graft trying to get them in. Instead, distribute your calories throughout your meals a bit more evenly, and potentially avoid foods higher in fibre that will fill you up. And when you're bulking, fruit and veg should still stay in your diet. It's important for digestion, and it can actually help you digest your food more effectively and help you go to the bathroom. But the amount can potentially lower. So instead of having like 150 to 200 grams, you could have, let's say, 100 grams of fruit or veg with each meal. And in terms of an actionable meal structure, if you're bulking, you can try and have a source of protein with each meal and 100 grams of fruit or veg with each. And in terms of my next tip, is making your diet convenient and also time efficient. So if your diet is a major inconvenience to prepare each day, it's going to be unsustainable. It's going to be a nightmare trying to stick to that. So to make it more sustainable, some tips are preparing multiple meals at a time, so you can do it all for the one day, or one meal for a few days of the week. Put it in the freezer or even the fridge if it will keep. And you can also invest like appliances like a rice cooker and air fryer. Might seem over the top, but if you have rice on a daily basis like I do, having a rice cooker that just saves, let's say, 5 minutes of your day. If you do that every day for months, that saves a lot of time, makes life easier, especially if you're wanting to make change, if you're wanting to make sustainable change and you're wanting to improve your lifestyle. You can't just do something that's a quick fix or it's going to be hard to stick to. You want to make things easy to stick to long term. And also pick meals and cooking methods that are convenient and quick, but also in line with your goals. Play about with different ways to cook things, and you can see which ones are the most time efficient, ones you enjoy the most as well, and meals that, let's say, don't take super long to prepare when you don't have the time. For example, first thing in the morning, you could have a protein yogurt. It takes zero preparation time. That's something you can do if, let's say, you are working. You can also add, let's say, berries to that as well. So basically, takes like 30 seconds to prepare, if that, and then that's your meal ready. All you have to do is pour some berries in with a protein yogurt. You can also batch cook your meats. So if you're having chicken, instead of handling raw chicken every time you want to have it, you can cook it all in bulk in the air fryer or any other cooking appliance. That's what I do myself. And then basically divide it up, put it into bags, and then fire it back in the freezer. You can also have a weekly shop to save time. Again, might seem a bit like, how's that going to make a difference? See if, let's say, you have to go to the shop 3 times a week. Let's say the shop is 10 minutes from your house. By the time it takes you to get ready, go to the shop, wander around the shop, you end up looking at things in the middle aisle of Aldi, if you're anything like myself, and then driving home. That's you wasted maybe half an hour from your day, maybe more, where you could be doing something more productive. And if you do that a couple of times a week, that's you wasted an hour every single week, maybe even more. So yeah, and having a weekly shop will just help you with that. And also save you money on petrol. And also have a plan so you aren't sitting on MyFitnessPal all day. That's not going to be enjoyable, and it's not going to be convenient. So try and have some base structure you stick to. Even if it's, let's say, just for a few meals a day, it saves you planning and sitting on MyFitnessPal all the time. And if you want to find out some more information, see the Making Nutrition Convenient video in the education section for further detail on this subject. Next up is cost efficiency. When you are following a diet, making good change with your nutrition, it's most likely much cheaper than eating out for lunch or getting a takeaway. And what I mean by that is, my weekly shop bear in mind I have a source of protein 5 times a day. I have salmon on my days off the gym. I eat chicken and also like red meat. I spend £40 a week on my food shop, sometimes less, most of the time £40 or a touch less. So, and that's while I'm bulking and eating 4,000 plus calories. So, if let's say you go out and you go to, let's say, a restaurant, you're probably going to spend £50. Sorry, not £50. You're probably going to spend like £20. If you go on a night out, you're probably going to spend £50. So it's not really that expensive, like doing, like looking after your health and like following more of a diet, having more structure for your nutrition. It's just a case of you don't value it enough. Like when you think about the actual price you'll probably save, just not eating out as much, it's probably going to be more. I'm not saying don't eat out at all, but I'm putting it into perspective. Even if you do spend £30 a week, £40 a week on a weekly shop, it's not that much in the grand scheme of things. So some things you can do to make things cheaper, as well as obviously like not eating out as much, is buying in bulk. So having, let's say, when you buy meats, rice, protein powder, buying them in bulk instead of like small packs. Same with things like eggs. Shopping around with or in shops where things are cheaper, finding out what gives you the best price for them out. And then if you're ever, let's say, in a shop where you know, let's say, something's cheaper that's in your diet, let's say it keeps and it doesn't go off, you can just store it in your cupboard, then buy that in bulk. And when something's in offer, you eat, stocking up on it. So if, let's say, I eat salmon, if I ever see salmon and it's got, let's say, like 30% off for that, I'll just buy as much as I can, really, fire it in my freezer, and then saves me money that I can spend elsewhere. And then when you are, let's say, like wanting to save money, you can also opt for cheaper foods. So things like rice, oats, and eggs are some really cheap options that are some good quality food sources that you can have in your diet. And like, yes, you could say it's good to have things like salmon in your diet, like I said, but you don't need it. Like, what's most important is having a diet you can stick to. Next up is environment. So to succeed in a diet or a gaining phase, tailoring your environment to your needs is very beneficial. So making sure you always have better choices available and making it harder to get a hold of poorer food choices. And what I mean by this is having like foods that, let's say, cause you to overeat, indulge, and struggle to stick to your calorie goal. Don't have them sitting everywhere. For example, if, let's say, we took two people, or I took yourself, and let's say the food that can be really tempting for you to eat and go over your calories with is chocolate. Let's say in your house you had 0 chocolate, and let's say for whatever reason the supermarkets within a 30-minute drive didn't have any chocolate in them. How likely is it you're gonna overeat by having chocolate? Probably not a lot. Whereas if, let's say, I put your favourite chocolate bar in every single room of your house, open, ready for you to eat, you're going to be more likely to eat it. So that's going to make it really hard to stick to your diet. So tailoring your environment to your goals can make it much easier to stick to them. So making it harder to get a hold of poorer choices and always having the better choices available will set you up for success. And for someone bulking, this could mean going on a weekly shop and having a lot of calorie dense foods that digest well. For someone dieting, this could be having a lot of high volume foods and low calorie foods. So if you can't be bothered cooking at times, you can have low prep time food options available, or do so when it's most convenient and enjoyable. And what I mean by or do so is prep the foods when it's most enjoyable and convenient. So that's how environment will affect things. In terms of sleep, the longer you sleep, the less time you'll have to be hungry and the lower the leptin and ghrelin hormones are. Also, the more energy and motivation we'll have to stick to the plan and prep food, things like that, when we sleep better. Sleep can also affect digestion, which can affect bloating and hunger, which is just some reasons how it can affect your ability to stick to a diet. You'll be more hungry when you're dieting due to leptin and ghrelin being higher. If you don't sleep as well, it'll be harder to adhere to things. If you think about it, see, when you're never struggling to stick to things, when you're motivated, full of energy, and let's say had a big coffee. The reason being is you've got energy. And same applies with sleep. If we are absolutely exhausted all the time, it's going to be harder to stick to things. And obviously, like I said, sleep can affect our microbiome, which is basically our gut. So if digestion's poor, then we're probably going to struggle to eat as much food. Our hunger will be low. We'll be bloated, which means our hunger will again plummet. And digestion's just something generally important for your overall health. It affects other areas, like you produce a lot of hormones in your gut, believe it or not, things like melatonin as well. So it impacts our sleep quality, our microbiome, or our gut. So the foods we eat can affect our sleep, which is nuts. And also aiming for 7 to 9 hours and practicing habits that help with sleep quality will just help as well. And there's obviously videos in the education section on sleep, as well as information packs most likely sent to yourself on sleep. And lastly, just stick to it. There are ways to make the process easier and also improve adherence. However, it comes to a point where you just have to be disciplined and stick to the plan. There's always going to be an excuse or a reason not to do something. However, it's your choice if you're going to use it as an excuse or stick to your diet, stick to your goals. If something's valuable enough, you'll get done. You will stick to it. So yes, you've basically got all the tools available, all the things available that will most likely affect the ability to stick to your diet. Something else that has popped into my head actually is with your environment as well. Speak to the people around you. Ask for their accountability. Ask for their encouragement. And also with myself as well, if you need extra accountability, if there's anything I can do to help, ask. But also set your environment up for success with talking to the people in your circle, sitting down with them, telling you it means a lot, why you're doing this, why your goals, such and such, so they can help along the way. So hope you've enjoyed the episode, hope it helps, and hope everyone has a great week, day, evening, or whenever they're watching this.